Okay, great. Um, so we're going to get started, everybody. Welcome to webinar session number 1 on the collegiate search and recruiting process. We're excited to be able to put this together. This format, while different and new for us, is going to allow us to have 4 different contact points with each of you over an extended time, rather than kind of the old traditional everybody, one night for a few hours type of thing. So we want to make this a little bit more interactive, particularly week to week. And we're going to ask you to kind of prepare some things as we go through each week. So we'll finish up tonight with some things for all of you prospective student athletes to prepare before next week's webinars. And then you'll be prepared at that point. So for now, we're asking all attendees to stop their video and mute themselves, just so that the group can be identified when they're speaking. And then we've got a slideshow to go through to keep you all. We'll share a screen here in a couple minutes. I'd like to start off by introducing the panel. For those of you who don't know, my name is Jeff Oliver. I'm the director of coaching with the club. And I do have some collegiate experience myself, but going to yield to all of these current head coaches at the college level, which is truly very exciting. Something is pretty rare, to be honest, for a lot of clubs to have this much coaching talent and knowledge on one staff. So we're excited to present with you tonight. I can be the point person if you have any questions or concerns. We also will record this and we'll have it available to you for the follow-up if you need. So to get started here, I'm going to have each of them kind of introduce themselves and let you know where they're coaching. Please note that while most of them are local coaches, a lot of them, all of us have a real, pretty large network of contacts nationally across all different levels. So it's important for all of you to to recognize that we're excited to provide information for whatever level you're aspiring to in whatever part of the country. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just kind of hand them off one at a time so they can say hello. You can put a name to face, and then we'll get started with the presentation. So first, our MC for the evening, Liz Masterson.
Hi, everybody.
Liz.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having us. I'm excited to be here, and I think it's a great way to make some use of this time. I coach at RIT. I just finished my 10th season there, which is incredible to say. It's gone by quickly, and I coach right now the Empire U8s, the babies, the little ones that you see running around, which is a real fun change of pace for me.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. We'll go on my screen from right to left where you are. So, Jess, you go ahead.
Hi, guys. I'm Jess Schufelt. I am the current Keuka College women's soccer coach. Not quite 10 seasons in like Liz, but I did just finish my 3rd season as the women's soccer head coach at Keuka. I am the current girls U16 Empire United head coach, and this is my, I think, 4th season, Jeff, with Empire. So yeah, I'm excited to be here as well, and I hope you get at least a few nuggets from it.
Great, thanks, Jess. Coach Christensen, you're next.
Steve Christensen, the Keuka College men's soccer coach. I've been there for 5 years, and prior to that, I was at Utica College down in Utica, New York. I think I have the U16 Empire team. I think I've been with Empire for about 5 years.
Great, thanks, Steve. Coach Mark Hollett.
Good evening, everyone. I'm currently the head coach at SUNY Geneseo. This will be going into my 3rd year there. Been a head college coach for 10 years now as well. Currently coaching the U18-19 boys.
Great, thank you. And Coach Bergasser.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the men's coach at St. John Fisher College. I'm in my first year at Fisher. Before this, I was at University of Rochester, Hobart, and then my alma mater, SUNY Brockport. And I came up playing through this club too, so excited to keep helping people as they make their steps into college. And I coach the boys U17s.
Great. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to all of you in attendance this evening. We're excited. One thing to note, the 5 of them all played, have a pretty wide array of playing experience themselves that they will be able to, kind of talk you through a little bit of the recruiting process from a student athlete, even though it might not have been just a few years ago for some of you. But we will get started. Coach Masterson, we will turn it over to you, Liz, and you can get us started.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen really quickly and just, we anticipate this is going to be 30 minutes, and I'll kind of walk you through exactly what the setup of the series of meetings looks like. So let me share my screen with you.
Liz, as you're doing that, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to use the chat feature at the bottom. Yeah. I will keep monitoring that and passing that along to you, the coaches.
Okay, so let's see here. So why are we having a series of calls? When we were brainstorming the best way to kind of give this information to you, the format that we typically use when we're all super busy running from practice and trying to get everybody in the same room at the same time is really just flood you with information at once, because that's the best we can do in a normal scenario. But now that we're kind of looking at things differently, we thought, it would be really nice if we could give you some different tools to use and then send you on your way to use them in a week, and then come back and meet again and give you some more information that you can then go and implement, and then come back and take a little bit more away. So we kind of built this model of 4 meetings, hopefully not really long and not really boring, hence the little people. So this meeting, we're going to kind of get you started on your way so that you have some things to take care of this week. So after this meeting, you're going to go into week 1, research. And then next week when we meet again, we're going to meet with the girls' side separately from the boys' side and talk specifically about timelines that might be different, and other recruiting things that might be different in a smaller group setting. And then again, you're going to have a week to kind of work on your own before we come back for our 3rd meeting. And again, we're going to give you tools that you can work on in each week between our meetings. And then in our final meeting, we're looking to have some Empire alums who've also played at the college level who could be really insightful into just how their college searches went, and also kind of reflecting on their college experience for you, so that by the end we have a plan, and you feel really good about the fact that you're in control of your search process. So the most important thing going forward here is that we're looking to have an interactive approach. We don't want to just, speak information at you this whole time. And it's all individual. So everybody's going to have their own list, their own methods, their own priorities, the things that really are just important to you. So we're going to help walk you through and how you can really hone in on what's going to find the college that's the right fit for you. So the college search process is going to require effort. And so hopefully by breaking it down by week, we can kind of help you make what feels like a really big process into some smaller steps to make it a little bit more easy to navigate. Like Jeff said, please use the chat feature as we go and stop us if you have any questions. And also, if you don't have pen and paper nearby, grab some, because we'll be asking you to stop periodically to just take some notes on some things that we're we think might be important for you to carry on with you after we finish meeting. So, chat series. I just want to reemphasize really quickly that we're going to facilitate the work for you. And then what's going to be next is going to be a lot of communication within your household, and a lot of effort and research on your part to make sure that you're doing the work up front so that the college search process becomes much less stressful for you on the backside. And I think I speak for all the coaches when I say that we're here as resources, and we're here to help. As you know, seeing players on the other side who are navigating the college search process, you know, we've heard every question out there on how this works. So we're happy to answer any questions on this call, off this call, by email. So please use us as resources as much as you'd like. I'm going to pass it off now to Jess.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So I think one thing that I can reiterate going off of Liz's first slides are that this is individualistic. So everybody's answers are going to be different. And moving forward with these questions to consider, I think that you've just got to realize that what you want, it might not necessarily be what your best friend wants or what one of your teammates wants. So I think it's all geared towards you individually, and I think that that's what you should consider as we go through these questions. So the first one says, what do you love currently or in the past year about school? So I listed subjects and teachers, etc. So maybe there's a certain subject you like, if it's biology, if it's math, if it's social studies, which was not my favorite. But so things that you love currently about school. The next one is soccer. So what do you really love about soccer? Is it playing time? Do you really value getting a lot of time on the field? Is it your coach? Do you love your coach? Or is it that you like having fun? Do you like competing and winning? Is it the time and commitment level? So maybe that's something you don't like. Maybe it's something you love. The last thing that I wrote for that is life outside of school and soccer. So your family, your friends, working. What do you do outside of soccer? Do you like to read? So things that you like to do and love currently to help make your decision going into this next question as to what excites you most about college. So you want to think about what is important to you to be happy for 4 years. This isn't a decision that you're going to make that you can just opt out of and just say you made the wrong one. You want to really do the research, and I think this is something that's going to help you to be happy for 4 years. So you want to think about what excites you most about college. Is it the school, like we talked about above? Is it the teachers? Is it soccer? Is it the life outside of school? So all of that to make your decision about moving forward as you enter college. And then what are your biggest concerns about college? What are you worried about? And I think you really want to narrow down your search to limit these concerns so that, again, you are happy for the 4 years that you're either away or close to home and essentially on your own for the most part. So with regards to the 2 questions above, I think that there's a few things that you should think about. So do you like the school size and location? So do you want a big school? Do you want to be close or far from home? The academic side of things, what type of class size are you looking for? Do you currently like the school size of a high school classroom? Does that allow you to be the most successful? You want to look at the major? And going off of major and what we talked about above, the subject that you currently like in school and that you're most successful in. You want to think about that. And then the last thing I said as you go through these questions are the athletic side of things. So playing time, are you going to see that? Is that important to you? The probability of winning a championship. So maybe playing time isn't as important and you're okay not seeing the field as much, but you want to be a part of a a successful team who competes to win a championship year in and year out. The coaching style, I'm sure a lot of you on this call have had a ton of different coaches, and I think you can kind of decipher what you like and what you don't like about certain coaches and their philosophies and how they react and treat their players. So I think that that's a really important thing to consider as you move your game to the next level as well. And then lastly, I wrote roster size and will I travel. Some coaches take 30 to 35 kids and only 18 to 20 travel. So will you feel a part in that regards? These are just some type of, or some things to consider, because ultimately I'll go back to what I started with. It's about you. It's not about what your teammate wants. It's not about what your parents want necessarily, but they are important. But you ultimately want to love your college experience, and it's not just academically or athletically. It comes together. So I think that with these questions, as you go through these, it'll help you narrow down your college search and really help you make a good decision. So I think after that, I think we are on to, is it Mark?
Before we get started, Mark, does anyone have any questions for Jess about what she spoke about on the chat? If not, if so, you can put it there, and we'll chime in as Mark gets in the breaks. Go ahead, Mark.
All right, everybody. So building off what Jess just spoke about, now we're going to talk about, really looking at your general college search and topics that are not related to athletics. For me, this should be your main focus. We all love the game of soccer, and, we all want to play at the highest level possible. But ultimately, out of this experience, you are getting an education, you're paying for an education, and you want to make sure that you're picking the school that's going to set you up for your next steps in life. So, the first bullet, location. Are you okay moving away? Do you have family or relatives across the country that you feel would be a good fit to go to school and then reconnect with them? Weather. Do you like that we sit in snow for 6 months, or do you want to go away and be on a beach somewhere or enjoy some warmer weather? So all of those things with location can really narrow your search when you're doing this. The next one, with your major or area of academic interest. So list those things that you enjoy in high school now that you have interests in. If you don't know, that's okay. I think all of us deal with a lot of student athletes incoming that don't know what they truly want to do. And that's okay, because you've got so many gen eds that you'll need to do in college that you'll figure out a path for you and what you truly enjoy. If you do know what you're interested in, that's great, because again, you can really narrow your search with looking at those majors and minors and things that you're interested in. So that's really something to make a list of. And, again, if you know what you're looking to study, you can really narrow your search with that. Size of the school, size of the classrooms, size of the campus. There's some pretty small schools out there that have very large campuses, so it's not a quick walk to your dorms, to the athletic fields, or to dorms to the classrooms. But some of those things to start thinking about, if you like to sit in a classroom of 300 people and you feel like you're an independent learner and can take what that professor is speaking about and be successful, or do you need that personal attention? Do you like to have those relationships with professors that you can lean on, not just for that class, but later down the road when you're looking for jobs, internships, student assistant positions? So the size of the school is huge, and how you best learn and how you best connect with people, with professors, with all of those important people that you're going to come into contact with on a college campus. the setting, an urban setting, a rural setting. Again, what are your interests? What do you like to do? You may not know at this point, and that's okay. But it's definitely something that should be on your list to think about and to learn what you enjoy and learn, again, where you should be. Distance from home. Obviously, for me, I didn't have a problem moving away. My mum's cooking wasn't great. You know, I missed her doing my laundry, but you figure it out. Some people can't move away. Some people enjoy having their family very close by and going back for meals, going back on the weekend and hanging out. You got to figure out, you know, for you, can you move across the country and not see your family for, you know, 3-4 months at a time? Are you going to be able to do that? So knowing really how far and where you want to be with that is very important. Religious considerations, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. You know, obviously, if that's important to you, there's schools out there which again will narrow your search. And probably one of the biggest ones, especially in this time, is cost. And you can do a lot of research here with the costs. A lot of schools have a net price calculator where you can, when you get closer to making a decision, you can put all your information into that and it can come pretty close to what you'd be looking at paying. You know, every school pretty much has a scholarships page and nothing to do with athletics, but there's school scholarships, there's private scholarships where you can do essays for, you meet certain requirements and, you know, you can apply for those scholarships. Again, the sooner you can kind of identify the schools that you're interested in and figure those things out, the better. Because obviously that's a massive piece to picking a college or university. And then to prioritize, you know, make it a working document, list these things in order of importance to you personally, and to your family, and see, you know, what works for you. If things are equally as important, that's okay, but branch off them to see if things do emerge on your list more important over time. The sooner you can get started on this, the better. Because it will change. So, you know, do as much as you can. It's pretty fun looking at all these colleges right now. They all have virtual tours and everything up. So, you know, really dive into it. And if it's something that you're passionate about, you know, you can have a lot of fun doing it.
Great. Thanks, Mark. Liz, I didn't know if you were going to pop in there, but again, any questions that anybody has, feel free to use the chat feature. You're muted, I think, Liz.
I think Steve's up. You ready, Steve?
Yeah, as soon as I get my screen back. There it is. Okay. One of the things I'll just add to each of the previous three coaches that before I even get into soccer is, as I go through this, you really need to ask yourself, and I don't want to be worst case here, but what if you went to preseason and you had a season-ending injury? Would soccer and the school you selected still be your first pick without soccer? So before I get into soccer, that's something you really need to think about. After that, once we get into that, as far as the soccer considerations, you need to be realistic of your ability. I think a lot of players have these, you know, we laughed a little bit on the meeting this morning about these players having high expectations about, I want to go to an ACC school. Okay. Are you able to play at that level? You know, you may have to ask yourself, is playing at that level the most important thing? Or is it maybe I just want to attend that school? Maybe soccer's not as important as you thought. So those are also questions you need to think about. As far as soccer goes, you need to do your research. You know, even between divisions, Division I versus Division III, there's a bigger time commitment. There's a higher level. You know, I've heard some players say that Division I is almost like a job. It's a full-time commitment. Whereas Division III, you get to enjoy your social life a bit. And you also get to play the sport you love. Is it a full year-round commitment at Division III? Yes. Is it as much as Division I? Absolutely not. So that's something you need to think about. You need to think about different teams within a division. You know, I'll just use the SUNYAC. You know, differences between a Geneseo and a Cortland. Difference between a CUCA and a St. John Fisher. Differences between RIT and maybe U of R. When you're doing that as well, think about the roster size. You know, I know personally at CUCA, we have a very small roster of 24. I know there's other schools that are able to carry 35. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. Is a roster of 24 give me a better chance of playing if the coach is going to put me on his roster? Or do I want to, you know, be on a roster of 35 where there's more teammates, more challenge within practice? Also, look, when you're looking for a school, look at the roster and look at, you know, the seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen breakdown, you know, and what position, and positionally, you know, hey, maybe I'm a forward, or better examples, a goalkeeper. Wow, they've got a senior and a junior goalkeeper already. It doesn't look like I might not play in the next 2 years. So those are all questions you need to ask yourself. Coaches, you know, do you have a good relationship when you with the coach? You know, are you interested in, you know, maybe I know for me, sometimes when I coach a kid at Empire, he says, oh, I love you as a coach. Well, just because you know coach at the club level doesn't mean he's the same type of coach at the college level. A lot of similarities, I'm sure, but it's a little bit more, again, of a commitment at the college level than at the club level. Playing time, you know, that's another thing. You need to, you know, when you're doing your research, you need to honestly ask yourself, you know, how much time am I going to see in the self-assessment? You know, am I capable of starting at this program? Well, maybe, you know, I aspire to go to Division III school and I want to play soccer, and, you know, at U of R, you know, the level is very high. They're a top 10 school in the country. Maybe, you know, I want to play soccer, maybe Division III. Maybe I look at a CUCA or a smaller school, or, you know, there's a ton of other examples out there. You need to prioritize what's important to you of the things above. And then the last thing I'll say is, you know, I get approached by a lot of players that I coach in club that get, I'm going to use the word phishing emails, or emails and letters. You're going to get a ton of letters, I'm sure, and some of you have already gotten them, that say, you know, I saw you play. I'm really interested in having you attend an ID clinic. You need to probe more into those letters. Is it one who's just soliciting their ID camp, or is it one who actually saw you play? You know, I know the coaches on this call, when we send emails about players that we're potentially interested in, you know, and I'll just use myself for example, but I give something, you know, I sandwich it in the emails. I say, this is what you did really well. This is what you could improve upon. And I finish it with something they did well when I saw them play. You know, you need to ask those questions when you get these letters. Is this a generic email? It's sent to hundreds of people because they're fishing for players. Is this something they really saw me play at? So, you know, as you're going through the process, when it gets down to soccer, you need to ask yourself those points.
Thanks, Steve. I think a really good point off of what you're saying too is just, you know, part of the self-awareness piece is making sure that the letters that you're getting aren't dictating the schools that you're looking at. Not to say you shouldn't look into the schools that are writing, but that you're also considering that all of the priorities that these coaches are saying, these are the things you should really consider, rather than having yourself swayed when you get those mass emails that might come.
Yeah, and I think I'll add one other thing too at the top of that, where Coach Steve wrote the divisions 1 versus 3. I think a lot of players have this mentality that I want to play Division I, I want to play Division I, I want to play Division I. I think that a lot of high-level Division III programs could potentially compete with some Division I schools. So just because it's Division III doesn't mean that you're going to need a time and commitment level when you attend that school and play soccer. Division III does require your time and commitment, maybe not to the extent of the higher level Division I schools, but it is still a different level of soccer, whether it's Division I, II, or III, when you do get there from your high school or club level.
Good point, Jess. All right, Jack, we'll turn it over to you. Bringing us home.
Awesome. You want to jump to that next slide when you can? All right, so what's next? Because certainly we threw a lot of information at you, and we also realized that in this process, it can sometimes be a little overwhelming because there's literally hundreds and hundreds of college soccer programs on both the men's and the women's side across the country. So what we would like you guys to create from the conclusion of this meeting to the start of the next one is to start to filter your list down into somewhere between 10 to 20 schools of interest. Using the priorities that we outlined earlier, those should really be the driving factors, right? The academics, the major that you might be interested, the location from home, big school, small school, all of those factors, and the higher they are on your priority, it can filter that down a lot quicker. So a really good example is if you know you definitely want to play Division III soccer and you definitely want to do engineering, that can really narrow your search really quickly. On the other side of it, if you're still really broad and you may want to do like a liberal arts education and you're not really sure what division you want to play in yet, it's totally fine for that list to be more broad. But with the factors that we outlined, you should still be able to filter this process down, especially over the coming week, to start to identify the schools that fit those priorities that are really important to you. So start with casting a wide net, and then certainly as you go along, it'll begin to narrow, and you'll also learn, because there is a trial and error in this process, you'll learn, once you explore some campuses through virtual tours, you dig a little deeper, oh no, that's not quite what I wanted, or it is what I want, and you'll continue to refine your process, and it'll become more and more clear until you finally get to that point at the end of the process where you're on a college campus and you'll just feel like this is the place for me. And then also, once you've started to narrow it down to that kind of range of 10 to 20 schools, go on the soccer program's websites and bring and pull up and create a list of the contact information for the coaches at those programs. Because our next meeting for this is going to discuss how to contact those coaches. Certainly utilize your guidance counselor in this filtering process if you haven't yet, or reach out to them. If you haven't yet, reach out to them, or you might have already. And we absolutely want you to use their recommendations and expertise. As I think it was Coach Howlett mentioned, there's a lot of campuses that have created, most already had a virtual tour, but I know one of the silver linings of this whole quarantine is every admissions office has really ramped up the quality of their virtual tours. So as you start to filter, you can go right on their admissions page and go through a virtual tour to start to get a little bit of a feel for the campus. You can go on their athletics page and start to look around, not only at their soccer program, but what their athletics facilities look like. And then I have two search engines here. And if Liz, you want to stop your screen share, I'll show what it looks like on mine. So there's two here. They're pretty easy search engines, but you can quickly click on any of these things. And if you've taken the SAT yet or a PSAT, you can input these scores, the type of school, private, public, the size of the school is all right in there. Location is really great because you can actually put your zip code and then how many miles from home you think you might want to go to school. You can also filter in both of these platforms for soccer programs once you hit search. So you can hit men's and then just grab soccer as well. And you can have all of these things as you go in here too. So this is off of College Board. And once you do your search, you'll be able to filter through it as well and then click on the schools and dive a little deeper. This other one as well too on the Princeton Review, not only can you search just by soccer programs, you can also do the divisions as well if you really want to get specific and you definitely want to do Division III. So these are two search engines that have really worked, and I think can really help people in that initial process when it seems like, wow, there's so many schools. It'll definitely help kind of filter this down from there. Questions now.
Well, that was pretty impressive. It's 8:35 and 5 coaches spoke, which has got to be a new record because we like to talk. So well done, coaches. Okay, first question coming in. Do coaches use recruiting sites like Captain U and NCSA? Great question, especially right now. Does anybody want to grab that one? I mean, I can speak to it from my experiences. I will say prior to this current time period, I would have said it's not really a good use of money and resources because a lot of times we consider those emails that come in kind of like a blast email that is sent to a lot of coaches and not necessarily tailored to our programs. So I will say that I'm leaning more on them now just because there's a platform for video. However, I think the club will have some answers, some resources for you to use in the coming weeks that we'll be able to share with you, but Jeff can speak more to that. So I would say there's better ways and cheaper ways to share. Obviously, NCSA is going to be different than Captain U just in terms of what's free and what's at a cost.
Other coaches' thoughts on that? If you receive something from NCSA or Captain U?
I don't have anything to add to that other than I don't use it, to be fair.
I think a big piece of it for all of you to know about that is those are recruiting agencies that kind of solicit colleges for you. We would like to be in an environment where we're more geared towards preparing you to direct your own pathway here. So a lot of the feedback I get from coaches is that if they get an email from a Captain U or an NCSA, it's really kind of back burner stuff as opposed to if a prospective student athlete emails them directly from their own email address. But you guys can speak better to that.
That's what I was going to say, Jeff. I think that it's a lot more personable when you get an email directly from the student athlete rather than via Captain U or NCSA. So I think that's most important is that we just, the same way we want to personalize our emails to you when we see you play, we would like the same in return. And I think that it can get a little fishy with those sites. And I agree with Liz that right now, I think it's nice when we can, the only reason I've ever used them is to watch a video. If I haven't seen a student athlete play, I'll just go check out the video. Again, it's tough to base talent on video alone. But during this time, I think that is the only reason that I would turn to those sites.
Great. Thanks, everyone. And to Liz's point, the club has always, but maybe more recently, we are pursuing, there are a couple of different softwares or platforms now that they really guide you through the process better than would be just hiring one of these kind of recruiting, agencies, if you will. And we are looking into that. We'd like to get to a point where we would be able to provide that to our club members, but we also, particularly in the current climate, need to weigh whether or not that's an investment we're prepared to make. We may be at a point where we can solicit some feedback on a trial basis, and we're working on that right now. So we would rather go that route, but certainly if any of you feel strongly enough about those different softwares, Captain U or NCSA, then there's a little bit of feedback for you from some coaches.
And the next question, is there such thing as too much contact with a coach? If so, how much is too much? And Hayden, I think that's a really good question. I'm somebody who, and I think this is probably coach specific, just based on, your preferences. Mine is that I really enjoy hearing updates. And it shows me that you're really interested in the university and playing soccer there, and that it's always at the forefront of your mind, and that you're also a strong communicator. And that's something that's really important to us. So it shows just a high level of commitment and a high level of interest. Now, of course, there's always too much of a good thing, right? But I think just, providing updates and, saying where you're going to be playing and stuff. Obviously, right now, there's not a whole lot to say after you kind of say the first thing and you share your video and you share your profile and you share your interest, not as much as evolving. But I do think, probably a monthly email is a good goal to set for yourself and to put it on your calendar, maybe at the beginning of each month, that you kind of just reach out to coaches to let, keep your name coming up in their inbox, so that as they, that it's not just months go by and they're like, well, I suppose she found somewhere else to play. So I hope that answers your question. I also want to say that the 5 of us tried really hard to stick to this initial idea of just making that list pretty and casting a wide net, and how important it is to have different locations of schools, divisions of schools, sizes, cost, and just really creating that list. And I'm sure, based on the questions that you guys have right now, are beyond the list part. I think we probably have people who are still making their list and people who are way beyond that point of making their list and setting those priorities. So for those of you who are beyond the point of setting your priorities and making your list, I would just review it and make sure you review your priorities and go back and compare them against the list that you currently have, just to be sure that, what applied to you 6 months ago, wow, now I just experienced a really interesting thing and I'm living at home with my family. And now, you know what? I really want to go to Florida. Or, you know what? I really like this and I want to go close to home because I've really had a really nice bonding experience. And these things change people. I know I've experienced just being in a different environment, how much you've learned and grow. And so that might change your priority list. And it would be good to go back and reflect upon that. But we will get to more of these sorts of points in our next meeting as well. Coaches, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just build off of what Liz said. I think I agree with all of it. Just making sure that when you do reach out, you actually have something to talk about. For example, in the last couple of weeks, I've received about 6 emails from a potential student athlete, and they all pretty much said the same thing, just asking how I'm doing. And, there's only so many ways that you can respond to that in a couple of days. So just make sure that it is thought out and you do have stuff to update the coaches with, or things that discussion topics that they can feed off of and reply to. Otherwise, you'll probably get the hint that when coaches don't respond back or don't respond back as quickly, that it's probably too much.
And in terms of content, I think it's important to say what you're spending your time doing right now. What does your practice look like? How are you maintaining your habits? How is your behavior at this time showing the connection to the goals that you have for your college dreams? And here I go, launching into next week's session. So muting myself.
Okay, well, I think that came at a good time then, Liz, because I think we don't have any more questions in the chat. So I think that's great to kind of segue into next week. A reminder that the staff, the panel here would like for you to create that list if you haven't done so already. If you have, kind of review it, look at it again, revisit it, and we'll have some more updated information for you next week. Again, there are some differences between the boys and girls or men's and women's pathways with recruiting timelines. So we felt it was really necessary, since we have good representation in both genders, to have two separate ones. We will send out the link for those tomorrow. We will also find a way to get this presentation to each of you, or I've recorded this meeting itself to you. So thank you all for your time tonight. Coaches, do you have anything else to add?
If you have any questions, you can email any of us at any time too. I know we obviously have some of our players and some not, but if you're a boy and you're looking for help, I know you can email any of the men's coaches, and I'm sure the same would be on the girls' side for the women's coaches.
Yeah, and you're setting yourselves up for success by coming to these things. So, give yourselves a pat on the back for that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you all. See you next week. Thanks, coaches. All right, coaches, I think we're good to go. Is it just going to be the three of us?
And there's other people.
Yeah, I know. All right.
Good
Jack.
turnout.
Yeah, it was great.
Good turnout.
It's a great
Good.
turnout.
Okay. You're gonna throw that
It was
Hey,
really
guys. That was
good. There
good.
we go. Yeah.
That was fun. I'm still recording. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Hit stop. Have you recorded stuff before?